Welcome to As I Live and Grieve, a podcast that tells the truth about how hard this is. We're glad you joined us today. We know how hard it is to lose someone you love and how well-intentioned friends and family try so hard to comfort us. We created this podcast to provide you with comfort, knowledge, and support. We are grief advocates, not professionals, not licensed therapists. We are you.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back again for yet another episode of As I Live and Grieve. I try to check in with you every week, so I hope everyone's taking care of themselves. We tell you that at the end of the podcast. So I think I'm going to start checking in at the beginning. I want you to ask yourself, are you taking care of yourself? And that answer needs to be, yes, I am. Thanks for asking. With me today is another great guest. I know every week I say the same thing, but it's true. With me today is Cindy Bain. She's from Canada. Hi, Cindy. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. It's lovely to be here, Kathy. Thanks so much for having me on.
Oh, my pleasure entirely. Okay, if you would get us started, Cindy, would you just tell our listeners a little bit about yourself? Maybe a little of your story here and there. Who's Cindy Bain?
Okay, well, that's a deep question, and I'm sure I could talk for an hour just on that. But I think I will just start with the fact that I'm a mom, I'm a wife, a registered nurse, I'm a speaker, teacher, energy healing expert. I'm also a mindfulness instructor and a Celtic shamanic practitioner. Earlier in my career, I worked as a registered nurse in NICU. I also worked in PICU. And so NICU is neonatal intensive care unit. PICU is pediatric intensive care unit. I'm also published in medical research from Sick Kids Hospital in Toronto here in Canada. I hold an honors degree in psychology and health, and I'm the founder of my own energy healing business, Cindy Bain Recharge with Reiki. I have over 23 years of experience with Reiki, and I'm also a professional member of the Reiki Membership Association within the International Center for Reiki Training in the United States. So that's a little bit about my career aspect, a little bit about my personal self as well. But my story around grief started when I was 5. 5 years old. So
wow.
So I was a child when I experienced deep grief. And I was home from kindergarten. I grew up, I know I live in Toronto now, and that's the largest city in Canada. But when I grew up, I lived in the country. There was a small village close by, but it was 500 people, but I didn't even live in that village. I lived outside of that village. And so I went to kindergarten every other day. The school bus picked us up, and that was just every other day. On the day that I was home with my dad, he had already had his first heart attack. He was 24 years old. He'd already had his first heart attack, and he was just trying to recover from that. I remember sitting in the bed beside him, and he still had his wonderful personality. Like, he was a teaser. He liked jokes. He liked music. I was entertaining him, and he was entertaining me. But at some point, he said he felt indigestion. So I knew he had ginger ale in the kitchen. He asked me to go get some. And at the time, it was this big bottles of pop, and you had to use a bottle opener to try and get it open. And I just couldn't hold the big bottle, and my hand strength wasn't there. So I went back to the room to see if he could help me. And he was purple. His face was purple, and he was gasping for breath. My mom was in the next room vacuuming. I ran and got her. She started CPR. I ran to the neighbors. And it's not like being in an urban center where the neighbor is just next door. Like, I had to run a little bit to go see if the neighbor could help, and they weren't home. So I came back. My mom's still doing CPR. She said, go to the first concession road. There's men working there. Ask them to come. And I was not allowed to cross the road. This was a highway, not a major highway, but a county road, bigger than gravel dirt road. And I'm 5, so I knew I had to go. And to this day, I also remember thinking I did not know that my legs ran that fast. It was almost as if they were ahead of my consciousness.
Right.
I made it to that corner, asked the men to come. I do remember thinking, like, they didn't believe me and they wouldn't come. So I ran back to the house. I don't know, did they have Avon in the US at some point?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
My mom sold Avon at the time. And luckily, when I got back to the house, the phone rang and it was a customer.
Okay.
And then I said, get the ambulance. And that person knew
Right.
what was happening in our home. My dad didn't make it.
No.
Not survive that second heart attack. And nobody knew but me that I thought I killed him.
Of course you would.
My
Yeah.
5-year-old self thought, had I gotten him the ginger ale.
Right.
And so quietly, I anguished. My heart broke.
Yeah. You accepted all that guilt.
Exactly. And I was close to my dad. Like, I have an older sister. She's not quite a year older than I am. And she felt like she was maybe more close to my mom and I was closer to my dad. So I really felt like I was on my own. But not only that, Dad's gone now. This is 1970. I live in rural southwestern Ontario.
Yeah.
There is no grief counseling.
Of course not.
People didn't tend to talk about their feelings back then. And so my mom, grief-stricken, was having a bit of a tough time. And so I know that she wasn't around for a while. So my sister and I got bounced around essentially to family members. So it felt like Dad's gone and Mom isn't around.
Yeah.
The foundation was ripped out from beneath me. I can't speak for my sister. I'm sure she felt the same way. But for me, nobody was talking to us. I do also remember I guess they thought, oh, well, getting back to our normal routine would be best for us. So
that's what they thought then. That's what it was. It's okay. The burial's over. Just get on with your life.
So off we go back to school.
Of course.
And so it was show and tell at school.
Yeah.
And I remember putting my hand up, going up to, I think we stood on a little tiny chair to address the other children. And I remember saying, so the teacher said, okay, Cindy, what would you like to share? My dad died and it was silent.
I'll bet.
And not only that, but as a 5-year-old, and I'm a sensitive person as well, I fully felt the awkwardness of the moment. The teachers were fidgeting in there. There was 2 teachers. I don't know why there were 2 at the time. Now we barely have enough teachers for the class. And there were 2, maybe an assistant with the kindergarten teacher. And they both looked at I remember looking over to them. They both looked at each other and then it was like, okay, Cindy, you can sit down now.
Oh, gee.
Yeah. And from that experience, I fully got it. Adults don't want to talk to me. Nobody talk about it.
Right.
I am on my own.
Yep.
And so what I did was I was being guided. My intuition said, we lived in the country and we had a forest behind our home. 5-year-old me walked into that forest. I sat with my back against a birch tree and talked to God.
Oh, wow.
And being in nature helped to soothe me in a way that I didn't fully understand at the time, but I knew that I felt better when I sat in nature. I just taking in the smells of the forest and the peacefulness and the energy of it really helped just to soothe my grief at the time. But was I fully healed? Absolutely not.
No.
And so that mid-30s, somebody mentioned Reiki and that caught my attention just on an absolute knowing level within myself. I knew that I needed to investigate that. And that was 23 years ago. And I knew that I wanted to do it because I still needed healing from my woundedness from having lost my dad.
Right. Now, Reiki is a form of energy healing. Is that correct? All right.
Yeah.
So I have had one and only one experience with Reiki. I admit at the time, I hadn't even thought of the concept of energy, of our bodies being energy. I hadn't gotten to that point. This was years ago, probably 20 years ago. And so I allowed this person to do a session of Reiki for me. I admit I was so uncomfortable. I think it's because, looking back, I didn't understand what was happening or what was going on, but it just seemed so bizarre and awkward to me. So I kind of put this barrier up and thought, oh, Reiki, I don't get that at all, so I won't pay attention to it. However, here's the podcast, and here I am over 200 episodes later, and we've talked about Reiki a little bit. We've talked about energy lots now, and now I'm a firm believer in energy.
Okay.
So to help our listeners who might be somewhere between there and where I am now, could you just kind of explain a little bit, what is Reiki and how is it intended to help us?
Okay, that is a really good question. So Reiki is a Japanese word. Rei, R-E-I, means spiritually guided, and ki means life force energy. So together, they're spiritually guided life force energy.
I have not heard that before.
Okay. And this is absolutely an energy healing modality. It is something that helps reduce stress, and it promotes relaxation, but it also promotes healing. Because when we're in that decreased, stressed, or no stress and relaxation state, we are opening ourselves up to the natural wisdom of our body. It already knows how to heal itself, because when we get a cut, guess what? It seals off and then it heals in. So our physical body knows how to heal itself, but we're not just physical beings.
Oh,
We're
no.
spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical energy beings. Everything is made up of energy. Even though it appears like it's physical, guess what? On a molecular level, there are little particles moving around. So everything is energy. So Reiki is something that, so the practitioners go through their training, helping to allow their physical body, but of course spiritual, mental, and emotional as well, to attune to the higher energy frequencies that are wanting to come through. And so you're a Reiki practitioner. Hopefully they're a Reiki master, but I know people can practice it with level 3, I believe, as well. But there isn't just one Reiki system, which makes it a little bit confusing.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So I know I mentioned a little bit about myself, that I'm a professional member of the International Center for Reiki Training. And I chose that because it's an organization that's been around for decades now. William Lee Rand is the president and has done tremendous work to advocate and bring Reiki into hospitals. So Reiki is in hospitals for people that are having palliative, people before surgery or any kind of, just being in a hospital is stressful. But I know that he has done tremendous work within the United States advocating for Reiki being brought into hospitals. So that organization is attempting to make it more of a systematic approach so that they have manuals. They make sure that the teachers are following the training so that everyone is conveying the same information. They're trying to standardize the care that people are receiving when they receive Reiki from members trained through the International Center for Reiki Training. I said there are many systems out there. I'm personally trained in 3 different systems.
Wow.
In 2002, I began training in Tibetan Usui Reiki. And I did that to the Reiki Master Teacher level 2 level. And then a few years later, there was a system, it's still around, of course, but something new that came out was called Karuna Reiki. And you already had to be a Reiki Master to be able to take the Karuna Reiki system. And it comes with its own symbols that unlock energy, kind of a thing. And so then, and that was maybe in 2005 that I trained in Karuna Reiki, so I had 2 systems then. But in late 2014, a new system was coming into, the energy was starting to come into being, meaning it was being channeled. And so it's called Holy Fire. And since 2014, it's now Holy Fire 3. So it has evolved and evolved.
Okay.
I'm trained as a Holy Fire 3, Usui World Peace Reiki Master. I'm a Holy Fire 3 Karuna World Peace Reiki Master. And so once Holy Fire came into its existence, and it's what I can tell you is I've worked in Tibetan Usui in that system, and it has an energetic feel, a frequency of its own. Then when I trained in Karuna, I noticed that had its own feel. And I always gave sessions utilizing both systems.
Okay.
Once Holy Fire Reiki came in, it was an energy that could work with Usui, the Usui system, and the Karuna system. And so that's why when I said I was the Holy Fire 3, Usui, all of that, like they were working collaboration. And so I have 23 years of Reiki experience. I am fully working within the Holy Fire system now in my practice because I find it is, for me and my clients, it feels like the highest energetic frequency that is coming in, working for the highest possible good with the best possible outcome, better than we could ever imagine, kind of a thing with my clients. And it isn't just me feeling that way. I am getting feedback from my clients, a lot of clients now.
Reiki is far more complex than I have ever thought about. I appreciate that explanation. Thank you. And I know for maybe some of our listeners, your heads might be spinning, right? So let's kind of summarize it a bit. If someone is grieving and suffering those symptoms, the devastation, the depression, the anger, the guilt, the shame, whatever, grief brings with it a whole basket full of different symptoms, different emotions, different mental issues, even right down to it gets so burdensome and it attacks you physically as well. How then can Reiki help someone who's grieving?
I actually do have clients within my practice and it's not just the loss of a loved one, grief around not having a trauma happen to you, not feeling like you're in the same state.
Well, there's loss around divorce, losing a job, having a financial issue. Goodness knows in the States now, there's all kinds of issues going on.
Yeah.
And certainly after the pandemic, I'm pretty confident that I can say, I don't know that there's anyone in the world who has never experienced some form of grief. They may not have realized it or recognized it as such. But even a toddler who loses their favorite stuffed animal, leaves it behind in a restaurant or on a plane, that little child experiences grief.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. So I don't necessarily deal with somebody who is, they've just lost.
Right.
That's not true. Someone who's lost their job, who's devastated, yes. I have immediately worked with clients like that. But as far as the loss of a relation, in some capacity, they have to actually get to a point where they're not still in the numb, can't feel anything completely.
Okay. All right.
Because Reiki does require that the client, this isn't something that's done to you. To have a Reiki healing session, it's not being done to you. You are fully a part of the healing session. It's required because the client, it's most effective when the client is open and willing to let go and also willing to bring in energies and things that they want. And so somebody who's completely shut down, they may need to go through a little bit more to get to a place where they want to shift out of that state, that initial acute, just need to process kind of a thing.
So they almost need to have reached the point where they have said to themselves or felt, I don't want to live like this anymore.
Exactly.
They almost need to be ready to move forward instead of stay where they are.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. That's important. That's critical, actually.
Yeah.
Because I'd be willing to bet a number of people have tried it at an earlier stage and, like myself, said it didn't work.
Right.
Reiki doesn't work. But you see, right. And I have not said that, but you have to be willing and you have to have an open mind about it as well. You have to be willing to accept it.
Interesting. Open mind. Some people have come in skeptical, but still know something has to change.
Right.
I had a Bay Street investment banker client come in, not sure what this was, but had just tried everything else.
Yeah.
It was actually at the prompting of his partner, but he came on his own and had a 2-hour session. And at the end, he sat up on the table and said, I think I'm going to have to investigate this energy.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And actually, as he was following me out, he said, you know what? I can feel your energy.
Interesting.
Yeah, which was a huge shift. He was skeptical.
Yeah.
Still willing, still wanting change, not wanting to be stuck where he was. So was he fully out there? No, but he sure was after.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing.
And he emailed me on his own 2 weeks later.
Really? Oh, great.
So did I expect that? No, I did not.
I'll bet.
Yeah.
Oh, that's excellent. And I love hearing stories like that. So people need to be ready and accepting. And then the energy, but it's the energy that they bring in that is helping to heal them? Or is it also getting rid of, do you get rid of negative energy?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So, but the client, the only requirement is that you allow yourself to at least somewhat feel like you can open yourself to be vulnerable.
Okay.
Right? Open so that you're now allowing these energies that are in there, these emotions that are in there that are stuck and really needing to come up and be released in a gentle, compassionate, kind, loving manner. And the energy that comes in has that feeling around it. And I have actually now in my practice, I have more virtual clients than I do.
Really? That was going to be one of my questions. Does it work virtually?
Yeah. I have clients in Australia, the Netherlands, California, so LA, British Columbia, Nova Scotia, on all across Canada.
Wow.
Somebody just outside of Boston.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Wow. This is just amazing to me. I'm going to have to try it again. I think there's another way about it. I like to call myself an experiencer. If I hear about an interesting modality, I have to try it. I've tried a number of them, but I think I need to give Reiki another chance. At any rate, you'd be happy to. Well, guess who I would look up to help me with that? It's going to be,
I would be happy to work with you, Kathy.
That's great. So consider me. We'll be talking about booking at a later point. And at any rate, and I know there are other, we've talked about Reiki here quite extensively, and I appreciate that. And I know the listeners will profit from that information as well. But there are other types of energy healing modalities too, aren't there?
Absolutely.
Can you give me a few examples just of the types?
Energy healing. Well, isn't that interesting? Okay, so I could suggest things that are Japanese medicine related, like acupuncture. That is energy going through the little.
Okay, I've tried that.
Yeah. I haven't investigated them myself, to be honest, because it was an inner knowing for me. This is what resonated with me. And this is what I do feel that's important for your listeners to know, that there isn't just one way to heal. There isn't just one miracle cure for what ails us. I know that for my Reiki clients, it really is about the journey for healing. So, one session isn't going to fix everything that's wrong.
Right.
In your life, it just isn't.
It's not. It didn't happen in just one session. It didn't happen in just one day. It took a while. Yes.
And I know that you were asking other healing modalities, as massage is something that helps to promote relaxation and stress reduction. And it does help the physical body. It does mentally help you. Well, for some people, you know what? They don't even like to be touched. Not but those that do want to have a massage, right, must help them feel more relaxed and maybe just a little bit closer to their baseline where they feel their best selves.
Yeah.
But you would think that I would know all different kinds, but I really haven't been curious. It's so interesting you asked me because I really am so into Reiki that is, I mean, I just finished a 3-year course, the Next Step course, with one of the directors of teaching out of the International Center for Reiki Training. And it's advanced Reiki training once a month, 3.5 hours every month for 3 years that we did this training. And that finished in December. And now I'm also in another year-long course with this same teacher, Colleen Benelli. And this is exploring the 12 heavens, that the 12 heavens are within the Holy Fire Reiki system. And so, it just depends where you are on your spiritual journey, to be honest. Whether you don't have to be a spiritual person to do Reiki and receive the benefits of Reiki. But most of the people that train in Reiki are doing it because they're on a spiritual journey of some sort.
Right. Yeah.
And that was me. I knew I needed healing from the grief it was still, mid-30s. I'm still crying every now and again. Most of the time I'm okay. But every now and again I feel lonely. I don't have my dad. He hasn't able to see his grandchildren.
Yeah, it's that double-sided grief. Not only do you miss your dad, but you feel bad for the things he's missing and that your children are missing. And you just kind of feel double-sided. The perspective I was going to offer on the fact that Reiki is your specialty and the one that you focus on is that it's just like people, if you're looking for help and you decide that you're going to check out some modality like acupuncture, massage, Reiki, whatever it is, you have to understand that everything is not going to work for everyone, that there are different things. So if you try one, like I tried Reiki and it didn't work for me. Now, granted, it was a 20-minute session, which I don't think is enough time, but so it didn't work for me. That didn't stop me from exploring other modalities. And I found a couple that feel very good. They really do. And they help me. Do they help me with what I need right now? No, because I haven't done them long enough. I've gone for one session maybe just to see what it's like. So if somebody asked me, I could tell them. But you have to be prepared to commit to it for a period of time because it's going to take time for you to heal. It's going to take time for it to have its full effect. And just like corporations talk about return on investment, it's an investment, yes, but it's an investment in yourself. And insurance companies are getting better and better now about covering some of these more holistic or alternative therapies that they like to call them. So, hang in there. I think it's going to fall into place at one point that Western medicine isn't the be-all, end-all for all of our ailments.
Well, here in Canada, Reiki is all considered a complementary medical therapy.
Good.
And lots of people's extended health benefits will contribute to, I know some insurance plans just give you sort of a lump sum and you just determine what you
kind of choose. Yep.
Yeah. But that's where we are here in Canada. It's complementary medical therapy. And that's fantastic that it's gotten that recognition.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because 23 years ago, I can tell you it wasn't at the same place as.
Absolutely. Now, I have one more question that I want to just kind of sneak in there. And listeners, please bear with me. This is, every so often I ask what I call my toddler question. This isn't quite that. But I read in your profile something that really piqued my personal curiosity. May or may not be related to grief, but hey, almost everything ties into grief somehow. I read a phrase in your profile that you helped people deal with, quote, ancestral baggage and limiting beliefs, end quote. Can you tell me what exactly is that? I have my suspicions.
Right. Yes. So just bear with me, listeners, and just try to be open-minded. So our DNA carries energy and information within it from our ancestors, of course. Right. But it isn't just limited to physical traits. We can bring into this lifetime issues that are from our ancestors. So, and belief systems from our ancestors.
Okay.
That like life is hard. You have to work hard to get ahead.
what are some, does it even cover some things like racism? Oh, or
Yes.
or females not being important, things like that.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think
Women should only work in the house and look at the
exactly. Okay. So it can carry all that stuff. That's why it's baggage. It's heavy stuff.
Yeah, it is. And so perhaps at some point in time, these beliefs helped our ancestors through their lifetimes. But is it helping us in this lifetime that we're living right now? And the answer sometimes is absolutely not. And so I know I've already said that Reiki isn't done to people. It's not imposed on people. It's the practitioner facilitates the energy coming in, and then it's the client that works directly with the Reiki energy. The Reiki energy is enlightened, spiritually guided life force energy. It knows where it needs to get into to do the healing that needs to happen in priority healing sequence. So we might feel like I can't get rid of this, or I'm always sabotaging myself because of whatever ancestral, you're asking about ancestral baggage, but because I'm always insulting people that I think women should be in the home. What are you doing in the workplace kind of a thing?
Right.
That is a problem. And what's happening here? And so the energy for people that are open, and I always have to preface this because if you're closed and you don't want to do this, then it's not for you. But if you are looking to make changes, this is perhaps a way to do that. And so the Reiki energy comes in and it clears out root causes of what is creating burdens for us. Help us clear up these deeper blocked energies that we don't even know are there, but they're absolutely influencing how we are in the world. And so often the energy can actually work with our subconscious mind as well and clear out things. It's subconscious, so we're not aware of it. And the energy can get in there and reveal what's happening here. Oh, well, we accepted a truth in our subconscious mind that is not for our highest possible good. We've accepted the truth that we're unworthy moving forward. We're undeserving, we're unlovable, all kinds of things.
Okay. All right. That makes sense.
That we're just not aware of, but we just don't feel stuck in our lives. We can't pinpoint it. And so Reiki energy is able to access the subconscious mind and heal it in a way that is always for your highest possible good. This is enlightened, spiritually guided life force energy. So that's the only energy that's coming in. Having said that, it's really important for your listeners to understand that when they pick a Reiki practitioner, please you don't have to pick the first one that comes up. Pay attention to how does this person resonate with you? Does this person feel like they're aligned with how you're feeling? Because that makes a difference too, because there's trust involved. When this is your personal healing and things are happening in a session that are deeply personal, you feel like you can trust practitioners. That's very important to help people relax and be more open to release what they need to release and bring in energies that they would like compassion and forgiveness and love and joy and safety and security and things like that.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. And I can understand why trying to get rid of some of that would just make you the person you really want to be in life. And I think that's, so many of us now are at that point where we just want to be a certain type of person. We reached that point where we're tired of maybe a lot of the negativity. I reached that point about 10 years ago. I had so much negativity in my life. I actually ditched a few friends because they were bringing me down. And I'm not going to do that. Well, sadly, Cindy, the time has come that we need to wrap things up. I think you and I could probably talk for hours and hours, but we won't do that to our listeners at this point. So this is the point in the podcast where I turn the microphone over to you and I will let you speak directly to our listeners and share with them what they might find, for example, if they pop over to your website. Or I think you even mentioned to me that you might have a gift for them.
Oh, yes,
The
absolutely.
floor is yours.
Oh, thank you. So on my website, I have various things. There's information throughout the website. I teach Reiki. I teach Holy Fire Reiki to the master level, like Holy Fire 3, Usui World Peace Reiki. I teach Holy Fire 3 Karuna World Peace Reiki. And I also do individual sessions. I do group sessions. These can be done virtually because energy is not restricted to just the physical space that you're in. And actually, through the International Center for Reiki Training, when the pandemic hit in June of 2020, there was an upgrade in energy that was physically felt by all of us who did the upgrade. It allowed us to do our practices over technology, through technology, so that people can be anywhere in the world and feel the energy wherever they are. And so that has really been helpful. So I do virtual sessions, I do group events. I actually offer what's called the renewal journey. And it is a series of Reiki sessions. So this is for people that are really wanting to make a significant change in their life. It's not, maybe not for people that just want, for today, I just want to feel better, but for people that are looking to make a significant change in who they are. And so it's 15 hours of Reiki sessions, and they're within this renewal journey. The way it's set up is people do a pre-session check-in, they do a post-session check-in after the Reiki sessions. And this is done at a pace that's totally unique to the clients, however fast they want to do it. Typically, we recommend it's done over a 3-month period. However, I have clients that are doing it in 3 weeks.
Wow.
But these clients are motivated.
I'll bet.
Like 5 to 6 times a week.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And so, and they seem to be able to have this energy come in day after day and integrate it and then move to the next thing. But what I'm explaining about this renewal journey is that with the pre and post session check-ins, at the end of the package, this healing package, there is a report that we give to our clients so they can reflect on the journey that they've just been on. And so, I mean, the one I just finished a couple of days ago was 27 pages long. It's
Oh.
qualitative and quantitative report. And a lot of the information is gathered from the pre and post session check-ins, because there's what's their stress level? What's their relaxation level? What are some of the bright points? What are some of the triggers? All kinds of things. And so when the clients are able to review all of this information, they can go, oh my gosh, right, that's where I started, where I am now. And this is what I said about it in my own.
Yeah.
And it really is, this is how I love to work with my clients, because healing is a journey. It's a journey, and it's so rewarding for me, and my clients tell me it's rewarding for them. I have many that just continue on. So I've got 2 clients that are in their 3rd consecutive healing package. And yeah, so it's something that you have to be at that place in your life where you really feel as though, yes, you are ready to make a change, because something has to give. And yeah, so there's that. And I do have something free for your listeners if they're interested in healing ancestral baggage. It's an hour-long course, but it's free. And we will make the link available, of course. But it gives some information around ancestral baggage. And within this 1-hour course, there is actually a Reiki healing experience that you can have yourself. So it always contains the energy that I brought in at the time of the recording. It doesn't diminish, it doesn't disintegrate. It is always available, because my intention was set for that to happen. And so it's just something that your listeners may be interested in. They can try it on their own. I do say also, like when I set out a reminder for my clients, I actually give them a lot of information around how to prepare for a session. Because if you think that you can relax with pets jumping all over you and people knocking at your door and your phone ringing and all kinds of things happening, that's not the ideal environment to be doing experience. But if you can find a place that's quiet and you won't be disturbed and your phone won't ring or your whatever technology won't ring, and maybe you want to play some relaxing music if you find music is relaxing, or if you like to do it in the quiet, fantastic. You might like a light blanket, because sometimes Reiki energy, you feel warm, but sometimes you feel cool. So you might want a pillow, you might want a little blanket, but I don't suggest that you get all snuggly in your bed. That is when they just fall asleep. If that happens, just listen to it again. But also, some people like to sit up. That's so they feel comfortable in a comfortable chair. But just make sure that when you start this, that you're in a state where you feel relaxed and ready to receive.
Okay.
Yeah. And so that's something to try for sure. And that is around healing ancestral baggage.
Okay. Well, let me repeat for the listeners that this is a gift. It's free. It's an hour of free. And in that hour, I'm sure there's a lot of great stuff, but in that hour, there's an actual Reiki session that you can experience. So if you're curious about it, what a perfect opportunity to give it a try without anybody else watching you do it. Maybe you feel, maybe you feel a little shy. Maybe you don't want your family to know what it is you're doing. I don't know why you wouldn't, but this is a golden opportunity. And as Cindy said, in the podcast notes will be the link to this free gift, and it'll have the word free there. So you'll know exactly which link to click. But I encourage you to check out her website. She has a wealth of information. I know I'm going to give it a try because I appreciate and acknowledge that the last time I tried it, it wasn't a good experience. And I think it certainly wasn't done by a master. I know that. But I'd like to investigate it again and see more about this energy that I'm becoming more and more of a firm believer in every day of my life. So we really have to go. You've been great to hang with us all this time. I hope you found it interesting and insightful, and I hope you have gotten some information out of it. Check the podcast notes for the links, and please take care of yourselves and come back again next time as we all continue to live and grieve. Thanks, Cindy.
Thank you, Kathy. It's been wonderful being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for listening with us today. Do you have a topic that you'd like us to cover, or do you have a question from one of our episodes? Please email us at info@asiliveandgrieve.com and let us know. We hope you will find a moment to leave a review, send an email, and share with others. Join us next time as we continue to live and grieve together.